The T20 World Cup is over. I mean, you clicked on the video. You know it's not about the T20 World Cup. It's about IPL. I do want to make a T20 World Cup video, but that's probably not going to happen until, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks later. Anyway, we're going to be rapid firing through these teams today. SRH, LSG, and KKR. We'll start with SRH. They didn't deserve 6th place in my opinion. They only really got here because they went on a 3-match winning streak after they were eliminated, and they had that no result versus Delhi. I expected them to replicate 2024 season just because they were so good then, but their top order didn't have the same rhythm that it did before. Sure, they were great in some matches, like against Rajasthan, Kolkata, Punjab, and Bangalore, but against other teams they just didn't do as well. Like against Gujarat, against Mumbai, and in the first game against Kolkata. They were bowled out for 120 or something like that. I said this even in IPL 2024, but you can't really rely on anyone to be that consistent for this team. Obviously, they don't really have a solid anchor either, but Travis Head did end up having an average season, but he did take up responsibility as an anchor and scored at a respectable rate around 163, and he scored 374 runs, averaging 31.2 while striking at 163, which is actually pretty good, and he stabilized the innings for the team. Not really anchor in the traditional sense, usually you'd want them to be striking around 135, 140, but 163 not that bad, and he still did stabilize the innings for them. The other larger problem was their bowling. They really did invest everything just in batting and leave bowling completely out, and I mean in most people's eyes that makes sense, but it can hardly ever work outside of flat pitches. Last year their pace attack was Jaydev Unadkat, Ishan Malinga, Pat Cummins, Harshal Patel, and Nitish Kumar Reddy. It's not great, but I mean, it's just not great. You have nothing else to say. Unadkat is way past his prime and is almost useless unless you have a good dot bowler at the other end. Ishan Malinga is honestly pretty good, but he's still young. Harshal Patel is a slower ball merchant, as we all know, and Pat Cummins is, he's captain. So he gets to bowl a few overs here and there. Street cricket laws, And you're probably out there saying, hey, that's only just the pace bowling. And yeah, you're right. I think their spin is pretty good. Harsh Dubey has taken a kind of Anil Kumble approach to the game where he doesn't really turn the ball as much, but he varies his pace a lot, and that really gives him a lot of power over batters in all phases of the game. In power play, middle overs, even in the death, you can bowl him a couple overs, making him a pretty versatile bowler. Zishan Ansari reminds me of a young Yuzi Chahal, and I wouldn't really worry much about the spin if you have someone who looks like a young QC Chahal. Overall, I recommend that they just get more anchors like Atar Vataid or Safraz Khan, and I also recommended that they get one better finisher like Sal Lalura or David Miller. And you might be going again. You said that their pace attack was terrible, so why didn't you recommend any pacers? And to that, I would respond with the fact that there are probably zero economical pacers in the auction. Blessing Muzarabani was the one I could have recommended, but then again, they didn't really have enough overseas slots for that. And you can't just neglect someone like Ishan Malinga, a Sri Lankan who took 13 wickets in 7 innings last season. 3 overseas slots were already used in Cummins, Head, and Klaassen, so you need the last one for Ishan Malinga. Maybe try in the mega auction 2 years in the future, but right now you could just go with this. They ended up getting some solid players in the auction, being Liam Livingston, Jack Edwards, Sal Lalura, who is someone I recommended, Shivam Mave, Onkar Tarmale, Armit Kumar, Shivan Kumar, Cranes Fuletra, Saqib Hussain, and Praful Hinge. I really like a lot of these picks. They did focus on domestic pacers, which is something I wasn't expecting, like Onkar Tarmale, Saqib Hussain, and Shivam Mavi. They all bowl around 135 to 140 clicks, and they're also still pretty young, which, 135 to 140 at that age is pretty impressive. I do think they will bowl Jaydev Unadkat ahead of these players, but I don't think they're bad picks at all. Shivan Kumar and Cranes Fuletra are spin bowling all-rounders, but Shivan Kumar is the one I want to focus on. He's bowled really well in List A cricket, taking 10 wickets at an average of 14.3 and a good economy of 5.2. His batting's not been too shabby either, with his 67 against Jharkhand being pretty solid, and also against a really strong Karnataka top order, 5 for 45 isn't bad either. I think he could play a couple matches in place of Zishan Ansari, but again, not that many because Zishan Ansari is really, really good. The big three of players I do want to talk about for SRH are Salil Arora, Jack Edwards, and Liam Livingston. Let's start with Salil Arora. A Punjabi middle order wicketkeeper who's done really well in domestic cricket so far, averaging 42 in first class, 74 on list A, and 60 in T20s. He's mostly a finisher and he strikes at a pretty good rate. He struck at 197.3 in the last Syed Mushtaq Ali season, and that's why I recommended him to the Sunrisers. He's just been so good, and I think he should play at least a couple of matches, if not all of them. The fact is, he's only 23, and he's hitting spinners, not just pacers as well, which is kind of a problem for some finishers, especially in this SRH batting lineup. Jack Edwards is a 25-year-old Australian cricketer who's shown some spark, primarily as a bowler. He's been a reliable option for Sydney Sixers, taking 38 wickets at an average of 23 there. Batting for them, he hasn't been as reliable, but he's a lot better in list A and first-class batting for New South Wales. I think he's still kind of figuring out the kind of cricketer he is, but he's not a bad option at all if you have to rotate someone like Nitish Kumar Reddy out. Finally, Liam Livingston, he's already well established. We know how good he is, but again, he's well past his prime. I don't really expect him to play much unless they want to drop Ishan Malinga for someone like Shivam Mavi, which, that's probably a terrible idea. So, in conclusion, all of these buys were absolutely unnecessary because most of them are just backups. Other than Salil Arora, I think that he could still be useful for the team, both as a slightly faster-paced anchor or finisher. Here's my final playing 12 for the Sunrisers. They would open with Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head. Ishan Kishan would bat at 3, Heinrich Klaasen at 4, Nitish Kumar Reddy at 5, Aniket Verma at 6, Salil Arora at 7, Harsh Dubey at 8, Pat Cummins at 9, Zishan Ansari at 10, Harshal Patel or Shivam Mavi at 11, and finally Ishan Malinga as their impact player. This team gets a 7.3 out of 10, and surprise, surprise, they suck at their bowling. Their batting got all above 8s, but their bowling ended up getting 5s, which is the lowest scores I've given for any team throughout this entire series. I really don't like their bowling that much, and the fact that their fielders aren't that great doesn't help the fact either. Their bowling just needs more versatility, which is something that neither Pat Cummins nor Harshal Patel are capable of giving right now. That's it for the Sunrisers. Lucknow Super Giants was honestly a surprise contender for the semis last year. They did end up in 7th place, but they did have a really, really good season. I feel like this team was terrible back before IPL 2025, but they ended up doing really, really well. This year they released some of their big names like David Miller and Ravi Bishnoi, but they weren't in that great of form, so it does kind of make sense. They really just need bowlers who can defend 220 to 230 in Eknath, so it shouldn't be too difficult for them. They just need to get that pace attack and that middle order sorted out. If you give too many runs at the power play, it becomes increasingly harder to defend 220s, even if you have like an elite spinner like Digvesh Rathi. I recommended that they get someone like Bryden Cars or Matt Henry. I also recommended that they get some good Indian finishers like Abhinav Manohar or Baba Indrajit. They also got some domestic players who I don't think are that interesting, but they do have another left-arm quick in Naman Tiwari. The best and most interesting buys I see here are Josh Inglis, Enric Norkia, and Wanindu Hasaranga. The most interesting part about all three of these guys is that they're all overseas players, and LSG has spots for 3 overseas players, Markram, Marsh, and Puran. They only need one of these guys on their team, but how can you choose? I mean, you have one of the best T20 openers in the world who's also a keeper, one of the best T20 pacers in the world, and one of the best T20 spinners in the world. And if you think of replacing someone like Marsh or Markram, you're replacing one of the best T20 captains in the world right now, and you're replacing just like one of the best T20 batters in general in the world right now. And obviously you can't replace Puran because he is another one of the best T20 batters in the world right now. So what are you going to do? You have to choose something. And you want to know what the real kicker is? They didn't even get a proper finisher after all of this. They could have gone Glenn Phillips, they could have gone Dustin Chinaka, they could have gone Daryl Mitchell, they could have gone Michael Bracewell. They all went unsold. And Glenn Phillips got sold in the second round. But even if you wanted an Indian option, Abhinav Manohar went unsold as well. I mean, there was just no excuse here. I really do think there was a huge misstep in the auction, just like 27 crores for Rishabh Pant. I think they have to choose Hasaranga as their overseas player here. I mean, he can bat a lot better than someone like Norkia, and Inglis can't bowl, so I mean, you get the spin element as well. So you also provide support for Abdul Samad from the other end. Plus, he can support Digvesh Rathi a bit better than someone like Banimaran Siddharth can, because he is a proven wicket taker. Anyway, that's a short one. Here's my final playing 12 for this team. Mitchell Marsh will open up the batting along with Aiden Markram, Ayush Bodoni at 3, Nicholas Puran at 4, Rishabh Pant at 5, Abdul Samad at 6, Hasaranga at 7, Shahbaz Ahmed, a surprising one. I just really couldn't find anyone else who would support this batting lineup well enough. He's going to bat at 8. Digvesh Rathi at 9. Mayank Yadav at 10, Mohsin Khan at 11, and finally Mohammad Shami or Avesh Khan will be your impact player. I think Avesh Khan slightly better. He's a better death overs bowler, and that's kind of what the team needs. As I'm about to say right now, not too shabby. They get a 7.1 out of 10. They really fail on anything related to the death overs. They excel with the power play batting and spin bowling, but they're just really terrible with finishing and death overs bowling. I just don't see much death overs bowling in this team. I mean, most of these guys are power play bowlers. Digvesh is a death overs bowler, but you're going to use him in the middle because who else are you going to bowl, right? And then Mayank Yadav, maybe he's a death overs bowler. You don't even know who he is, and he's injured for most of the matches anyway. Avesh Khan, like I said, he's a pretty good death overs bowler, not the best, but he is a death overs bowler. He can bowl well. He does have the capability to bowl those dots, but then again, he can air in line and bowl loose deliveries very easily. So you have to judge on who's better for you. Do you want the experience of Shami? I don't know. It's pretty interesting. Do you want Arjun Tendulkar to play for your team? You could groom him. You never know. Let's go on to KKR. They got 8th place, and honestly, I thought that they would do way better than this. After all, they were champions the year before. Right now, they're looking for a better top order, better pace attack, and a solid wicketkeeper. Even then, they released Stick, Hawk, and Salt in 2 consecutive years, something that would have solved 2 of their 3 problems. For pace, I suggested that they get someone like Batirana or Kyle Jamison. For their top order, I suggested that they just go back to Quinton de Kock or Josh Inglis and go for Cam Green. They did end up buying some of these players, being Cameron Green and Matisha Patirana. Other than that, they also got Muzir Rabbani, Rachin Ravindra, Finn Allen, Tim Seifert, Akash Deep, Rahul Tripathi, and Karthik Tyagi, Sarthik Ranjan, Daksh Kamra, and Tejasvi Dahiya. As for the domestic players, I just don't really see anything in them. I did look them up. They have played some good knocks, obviously, or else they wouldn't have been picked, but I don't really see much impressive with them, and they're mostly just bench fillers. Maybe they'll play, but I just don't see much. Rahul Tripathi is the first player I want to talk about. He's an amazing player. He didn't have a great IPL last year, but he is an established player. Between 2021 and 2024, he averaged 30 in IPL, striking at 145, primarily acting as a damage control actor. I don't think that they need him because they already have someone like Ajinkya Rahane, and he's also captaining a team, but it's still interesting that they got him. Akash Deep was great in Test cricket last year, but I guess he didn't really play that much T20s. I don't think he fits well in Eden Gardens specifically, just because that pitch doesn't suit his bowling style. But he can get good movement in Ahmedabad. Tim Seifert is an amazing pick. I talked about him before on this channel, and I suggest that Punjab would target him because he's a really good middle order batter. He can help out with the spin weakness that they have. But KKR snatched him up for a base price. He's a good replacement for de Kock and is in much better form than de Kock is in. In 2025 to 2026 T20 Internationals, Seifert scored 988 runs in 26 innings, averaging 45 and striking at 165. It's absolutely unbelievable, and at that rate, 165, that's a great strike rate. He's not been the greatest keeper specifically, but he's still been just an above average batter, so I don't think the keeping really matters in this case. He's also a really useful player of spin, and we know how many teams want to come to Eden Gardens with spin. Finn Allen is along the same lines as Seifert, and I'm surprised he only went for base price considering of how big of a stir he made in the BBL. In BBL 25 to 2026, he's scored 466 runs in 11 innings, averaging 42 and striking at 184.2, and has a huge 100 there as well. And both of these two coming off a pretty good T20 World Cup campaign is so good for KKR just because they have a large amount of confidence coming in, and they're also playing in India, which is where the World Cup happened. So it's just really good for their top order. Seifert is a pretty consistent hitter, and Allen maybe not as consistent, but he is still a super strong power hitter. Rachin Ravindra is an interesting one. I don't really like this pick specifically. I mean, he can bowl, I guess, but he does take up an overseas slot, which, that's not really that good. You can use it for someone like Blessing Muzarabani, who is a lot better than any other pacer on their team. They already have Varun Chakravarti and Narayan for spin, and they can use just an Indian spinner like Anukul Roy or, Rinku Singh's bowled part-time spin before if they need a third spinner. Blessing Muzarabani replaced Mustafizur Rahman in this squad. It is a downgrade, but with the form Muzarabani is in compared to Mustafizur, this could be a blessing in disguise. Get it? Because his first name is Blessing. Muzarabani likes hitting his length hard and is coming off of a stellar World Cup campaign, and he'll definitely be suited for games in Chinnaswamy and Ahmedabad, definitely better than some Indian pacers could do. Patirana is also another interesting one. Now that they have Muzarabani, I don't really think that they need someone like Patirana. Obviously, Patirana, he's a fantastic cricketer, but he can't bowl in the power play and is mostly a death over specialist. KKR can get power play and death overs from someone like Muzarabani and reserve the middle overs for the terrifying spin attack. Cameron Green is the final one. Obviously, he was the big man talked about in the auction, but nowadays I don't really see the hype behind him. I was talking about him, like how Australia wanted to back him, and then he just scores 20 in the first test, and he gets out for single digits constantly. I was talking with someone about this, and they were arguing, obviously Bo Webster should play, and then I'm like, well, they want to back him, and then they were like, oh yeah, Bo Webster should play, and I'm Bo Webster should play. Bo Webster's been pretty good, but Cricket Australia should back him. I mean, he's the future of Australian Test cricket, and they're just like, Bo Webster should be playing. Yeah, man. Yeah, Bo Webster should be playing. But again, he is 23. He has time. But again, I don't really see that much spark in him, especially in the last couple of matches. He's scored 117 runs in his last 6 T20s, which isn't all that bad. It's about 20 runs per inning. But again, he hasn't bowled that much. If he was bowling 4 overs a game, it would have been different, but he's not bowling either. Not only that, he's been terrible in tests, like I said, which I just don't really get why they're spending so much on an out-of-form player. Plus Seifert right now, just way better. So, guess what? I was wrong. I forgot about Harshit Rana being injured, and I'm pretty mad that I didn't remember that. But yeah, he's still injured. He's not gonna play in IPL 2026. Maybe for some of the season. Maybe he's probably gonna come back at some point. But I think they could use Karthik Tyagi instead. Karthik Tyagi's a good Yorker bowler. He's done well in the IPL before. I think he played for Rajasthan. He had that really good game against Punjab at the death. So a pretty good option for Karthik Tyagi, or a pretty good opportunity for Karthik Tyagi to come in. They do still have Muzarabani and Vaibhav Arora, both of whom are solid. Obviously Muzarabani is a tier above Vaibhav Arora, but they're still pretty good. I think Karthik Tyagi could be very useful as a death bowler. I'm not sure who else they have as a pacer. That's basically your only option. Everyone else kind of not really established all that much. I might be wrong. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong. They probably do have another pacer. I just didn't check. But yeah, that's it. Bye. All that being said, my playing 12 is right here. They would open with Tim Seifert and Finn Allen. Ajinkya Rahane would bat at 3. He's the captain, so I would prefer Manish Pandey over him, but he is the captain. Angukri Raghuvanshi at 4. Manish Pandey or Rahul Tripathi at 5. I'm not really sure who to keep at number 5. That's kind of like an iffy spot for me. But I really do think that they won't really matter in the long scheme, because Rinku Singh will just come in towards the end. And again, Russell's retired, which is kind of crazy. But yeah. Rinku Singh at 6. Ramandeep Singh at 7. Sunil Narayan at 8. Harshit Rana at 9. Varun Chakravarti at 10. And Vaibhav Arora at 11. And their impact player would probably be Muzarabani or Patirana, depending on the kind of situation they're in. Or even against the players they're against. Because a team with a really good top order, you'd probably want Muzarabani to come in, but if it's a really good finishing team, then you'd probably want Patirana to come in. This team ends up getting a 7.7 out of 10. They really fail with their pace bowling just because it's not as experienced compared to other parts of their team. I really do think it's a great team, though. They have a really good power play batting. They have some really, really good middle overs batting because Tim Seifert just has that staying power as well. And then Krish Raghuvanshi comes in, and he's a really good batter as well. I think middle overs batting is a bit high. I think I rated that a bit too high. But again, you still have someone who's in form like Tim Seifert. So maybe not a 7.7, maybe more like a 7.5. But again, it's still a really, really good team. I'll probably edit it in the comments or on my article if I do make any changes to that. It's still a great team, though. And yeah, that's it for today. 25 minutes. I'll edit it down. See y'all later. Bye.